I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, sometimes you come along and find a book that absolutely touches your heart. That is the case with the book we're going to talk about right now. It is called Full Circle, and this book really does take you from heaven to earth and back again. It's an amazing saga surrounding a woman named Annie who loses the love of her life in World War I, but then is able to piece together perhaps not the life she expected, but a wonderful life nonetheless. It is written by a terrific author. Her name is H.J. Ottewell, and we are delighted to have her here today on Spotlight. H.J., thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much for asking me.
My pleasure. This is such an epic tale of heaven and earth and doing good things for people. Tell me a little bit about your inspiration for the book.
Well, it came really, I was working in a scrapyard in a Weybridge office and things were very slow. And I was just sitting there one day and I had Annie's life come into my mind. And from then on, the words just kept coming in. So I was jotting them down on a sheet of paper. And then blow me, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd wake up and the words were still coming through and I was having to write it, at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I think it was spirit inspired, to be honest.
It absolutely sounds inspired for sure. Tell the audience at home, I gave them a little bit of a synopsis, but tell them a little bit more of what your book is about.
It's about a young woman that was born into a comfortable life. She should have had a good, comfortable life, but her brother and her fiance went to the war, First World War. The fiance was killed. Her brother was changed totally from a gentle, kind soul, and it just became a drunkard, really cruel towards Annie, but he came back wounded. So just what had happened to him, nobody knows because he never discussed it. But it changed his personality totally. Until in the end, Annie was forced to leave home for her own safety, apart from anything else, and try and find employment, to survive, which she did. She managed to find employment. And she was with this lady for 30 odd years. And they finally became companions. They moved to London. And then when a friend died, Annie was involved in an accident. She was knocked over by a taxi cab. And she ended up in hospital where she met Claire, a young woman who unfortunately had taken an overdose of drugs. But Annie sat by her bed and sort of was there with her through the process. And they became lifelong friends. And it was a friendship based on love. Annie was just that sort of person. She had no end of things go wrong for herself, but she was always looking to help somebody else. Her capacity for love was amazing.
It's a wonderful tale. I think it really paints a world of very rich characters and very real people and very real feelings. I think that's what you write best, is that you're able to write the way people feel, and that's not easy to do.
Well, to be honest, I've had somebody read it last week, and she came to me and she says, I couldn't stop turning the pages. She said, it's a real page turn. She says, but I cried. It touched her that much. She cried while reading it.
Absolutely. Well, it's a very, very touching story. And I think you've kind of accomplished your goal when you touch somebody's heart like that to the point where you move them to tears. So that must be quite rewarding for you to hear as a writer, that you connect.
It is. It's amazing, because I'm just an ordinary person, and to think that I could actually put words on paper that can affect people like that, it truly is amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you writing anything else or have you written anything else?
Well, I've not written anything else like this. I've written loads of children's stories for the grandchildren. Yeah, dragons and fairies and a little red car, all sorts.
They must
Yeah.
love that.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
My great grandson rings me up when he's in bed. Nan, tell me a story. So I have to think of one off the top of my head.
That's great. That's great inspiration. Now, when you write a children's storybook, do you draw the pictures as well, or do you just let the
Oh
pictures
no,
form in the imagination?
just imagination. I can't draw. I'm
Right.
useless.
Oh, you never know. You might have a hidden skill you don't realize, but sure, that's great. So you're becoming known as the storyteller of the family if your grandson's calling you up and asking for a bedtime story, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about your life in England and how it shaped you as a writer.
Um. Well, I had a bit of a rough start. I was given up for adoption at 6 months old. Thought my mother didn't want me, but when I was 59, my mum found me and I actually got to know her. And that's where the name Ottewell comes from, because that was her maiden name. And a lovely woman. And but yeah,
So that's nice you were able to bridge a gap of decades and
oh
connect
yeah.
with your mother. That must be quite a special thing in your life and a special aspect of your life.
Well, it was going from a family. Okay, they adopted me, but they didn't really want me. You know, I didn't have a loving childhood at all. But to meet this lady, and she was so outgoing and so loving herself. It's just a shame that things were the way they were. You know, pity I
Right.
didn't know her before.
Yeah, well, she probably couldn't handle a child at that point in her life or whatever the situation is.
Well,
It's
yeah, it was
tough.
her family basically that forced it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I heard one time, and it's a saying that always has stuck with me, is that everybody's puzzle pieces together differently. So whatever we go through in our life kind of helps create the person that we are. And those things that happen in our lives are both good and bad. I mean, for you to have the feeling to write this book, maybe you needed a tumultuous childhood. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
you never know how things will work out.
No, that's true. I mean, fortunately, I've been well, I've been with my husband for 55 years, and we've had a loving relationship. I've got a wonderful family, my children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, and we're a very close family. I'm
And
fortunate enough to say.
and
So
they must be
yeah,
very proud of you having written this book.
oh, they are, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, before we go, I know you're in England, so I'd like to get your thoughts on the passing of the Queen and the new king that will soon reign over the United Kingdom.
Well, it was very sad that the passing of the Queen, but I mean, it was inevitable with her age. I just hope that Charles can bring something good to his reign. Um, I wasn't too sure about him, you know. We're sort of looking towards William, but we'll see how Charles does and hope that he does a good job.
It feels like he's kind of grown into it in his later years. When he was younger, I think even his mother had her doubts about him, but it seems like he might rise to the occasion. We can only hope. The name of the
Yeah.
book is called Full Circle. It is written by H.J. Ottewell, and it is a wonderful read. You will be lost. You will be caught up in this epic tale of Annie's life that follows her throughout her ages, from heartbreak to love and to hope and to finding what's really important in life, and it will really touch your heart. Full Circle, highly recommended. You can download it on Amazon. You can actually buy a physical copy of the book, and that is what I recommend. H.A. Ottewell, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you so much for asking me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. We appreciate your time. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.